everybody, Carrie DeBerg at the Racine Heritage Museum, and today I'm going to be talking to you about some notable Racine fires. So the first fire in Racine happened in 1846, which was 2 years before Racine became a town officially. That was at the Marshall M. Strong residence, and Strong was a territorial legislator at the time. He was in Madison and had to be summoned by horseback. In the meantime, residents nearby helped put out that fire. Unfortunately, he lost his wife and children in that fire. But in the 1800s, firefighting was largely done by volunteers. There were great competitions between the various volunteer firehouses in Racine. So one firehouse versus another would compete to see who could get to the fire fastest and who could put it out. And they were so competitive that they would actually break into fist fights from time to time, or they would cut the other firehouse's hose, or just do little things to try to prevent the other firehouse from getting to the fire, which they should have been working on just all getting to the fire and putting the fire out. But that happened even in 1860. The city council had recommended a reward for information leading to firefighters cutting hoses of other firehouses. So it was definitely a real problem in those days. The first big fire in Racine happened in 1866, and that fire burned most of the buildings on the north side of Haymarket Square. It started in a blacksmith shop, and it did $145,000 worth of damage, even though insurance only covered about $55,000 worth of those buildings. Unfortunately, in that fire, the Racine Exchange Hotel, which was the only major hotel in Racine, the one that Mary Todd Lincoln stayed at, that building burned, as well as the Robert Case Home, Titus Hall, the Episcopal Church, and parts of Porter's Furniture and Warehouse, and more than 20 other buildings and residences. So that was a very large fire in 1866. And this fire caused city officials to decide it would be important to have a steam engine. And so they did purchase a steam engine not long after. The second steam engine that they purchased for fighting fires happened to be coming through Chicago by rail from the East Coast at the time of the Great Chicago Fire. And it's reported that that steam engine was seized on site and used to battle the Great Chicago Fire. They used that steam engine for 21 days and then went ahead and shipped it to Racine, at which point the city officials did not receive it. They had it sent back because it was very much used. So the second half of the 19th century, firefighting was done either by hand, bucket brigade, or steam engines. They had public cisterns that they would use to pump water from. The problem with that is if it was dry weather, oftentimes residents who lived near the public cisterns would borrow water from those cisterns for their own washing, cleaning, drinking, whatever it might be. And so sometimes those cisterns ended up being empty. They also had to rent horses, so they would either rent them from nearby farmers or businesses to use during fighting a fire. So the next great fire I'm going to talk about was the Great Fire of 1882, and that is the one that we refer to most often when we talk about most of downtown being decimated. That was a very large fire, and the way it happened was the tugboat Sill was docked at the Goodrich Warehouse on the South Harbor Pier. It was May 5th, 1882, and around 10 p.m. sparks were coming from the smokestack of the tugboat and landing on the roof of the warehouse. Now the warehouse was filled with 500 bales of hay, 10,000 strawberry crates, 500 to 600 baskets, and other flammable materials. And it was surrounded by 10 million board feet of lumber and grain elevators. So this was basically a tinderbox waiting for a spark. According to local historian John Van Thiel, the story goes this way. Young John Hood, who was age 12, and his father Samuel were sleeping in Hood's lumber office and planing mill. They were guarding the day's proceeds. The boy awakened, smelling smoke. He woke up his father, who tried to tell him to go back to sleep. The boy opened the door and saw a cloud of black smoke coming from the Goodrich Dock area. He ran to the fire station across the street, and the alarm was sounded at exactly 10:45 p.m. Unfortunately, that night there were strong winds from the northeast, and one of the things that caught fire was a 156-foot tall grain elevator. And this made a huge plume of fire actually that went up into the sky. And the good thing about this is it caused the fire to be able to be seen as far away as Milwaukee. And even a schooner captain whose ship was off the point at Two Rivers said that he saw this plume of fire in the sky as well. And so the mayor of Racine called firefighters in Milwaukee around 11 p.m. And unfortunately, they did not get here till 3 a.m. because the train that they were traveling on threw sparks and set fire to the firefighting equipment that they were bringing. So this was just one thing after another with this fire. By 4 a.m., crews from Chicago and Kenosha came to assist, and embers were carried all the way from downtown to Lathrop and Durand Avenues, which is quite a distance. It burned everything between 3rd and 4th Streets all the way down Main Street. So in total, 44 buildings and $1 million in damage. But the really amazing thing is no lives were lost in this fire. So that is really incredible. And then I just wanted to read to you this excerpt from the newspaper the day after the fire. W.A. Porter of Porter's Furniture wrote, "I am happy to inform the public that I still live and can offer the largest and best stock of furniture in the city at prices cheaper than ever," which is really incredible considering Porter's was also involved in the 1866 fire. And so then they made it through another one. So I just want to show you a couple of the artifacts that we have here related to firefighting. So I'll get my gloves on. We always wear gloves when we handle artifacts, and that is to protect them. So I have a fire hat, and this is a plastic volunteer fire hat. It's from Joe Gallipo, and this is probably from between the 1960s to 1980s. And so this is a part of our collection. And then one other thing I want to show you. This is a firehouse bell. This was used in Racine, and this would be wall mounted. And again, this is from probably somewhere between the 1930s to 1950. It's very, very heavy. So this is another great firefighting artifact we have. And then the last thing I want to show you is this leather badge that I have. And this was donated to us from the Trevor Fire Department, probably snapped onto a helmet. It's very old and quite fragile. So this would probably be the late 1800s to early 1900s. So that is all I have for you today. We just want to make sure that if you are seeing this and you have friends or family members who are firefighters or EMTs or any other emergency personnel, make sure that you thank them and tag them in this video and let them know that we appreciate them and all the things that they are doing. So be sure to share this video and let your firefighter friends know that we really appreciate their hard work. That's all I have for today. Thank you for watching, and Chris and Allison will be back on Monday with a very special Memorial Day program for you. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and share and follow our YouTube and Instagram pages.